Welcome, my friends, and let me spin you a tale of perseverance, redemption, and the transformative power of kindness. Enjoy the story. The sizzle of burgers on the grill and clang of pots mixed with the shouts from the kitchen staff. Emily, a frazzled waitress at Chez Cuisine, a greasy spoon diner in downtown Los Angeles, wiped the sweat from her brow as she rushed orders to the hungry lunch crowd. "Order up! 3 cheeseburgers, 1 Cobb salad," barked the line cook. Emily snatched the plates and rushed out to the dining room, her apron strings trailing behind her. She breathed a sigh of relief when she saw Veronica, the fiery owner with a personality as big as her red bouffant hairdo, hadn't arrived yet to berate them for the occasional mix-up. Right on cue, Veronica burst through the swinging kitchen doors. "What's the holdup? Customers are getting antsy." The staff exchanged worried glances until Veronica's eyes landed on the window overlooking the alley outside. A scruffy homeless man sat against the dumpster, nose deep in a tattered paperback. Veronica's expression softened. "Emily, take that container of meatloaf scraps to the nice gentleman outside. Would you, dear?" Emily blinked in surprise but nodded. "Sure thing, V." As Emily gathered up the leftovers, Veronica sighed. Such a shame when good people fall on hard times through no fault of their own. The homeless man, William Smith, looked up in amazement as Emily emerged from the back door carrying a large plastic container. "Ma'am, you got something for me?" Emily forced a polite smile as she thrust the container into his calloused hands. "Compliments of the owner. Don't go spreading it around, though. We could get in trouble." William opened the lid, his eyes widening at the hearty portion of sliced meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy inside. "This is too much. Thank your boss for me." Another scruffy older man emerged from the alley, eyeing the container hungrily. "Hey, William, you gonna share some of that?" William scooped out half onto a ratty piece of cardboard. "Course, Michael. Here you go." Emily watched the exchange curiously before catching Veronica waving from the window. She tossed the men one last look before disappearing back inside. William called after her. "Ma'am, please thank the owner for us." Veronica ambled outside, eyeing the men cautiously. William locked eyes with her, murmuring a soft, "Thank you kindly." Veronica simply nodded before retreating back into the diner without a word. William and Michael sat huddled on a park bench, devouring the still warm food. "Oh man, I'd kill for a cold brew to wash this down," Michael groaned, wiping his mouth on his grimy sleeve. William shook his head disapprovingly. "I don't understand how you can live on the streets yet spend what little money you get on alcohol. Don't you want to get off the streets?" "What's it to you?" Michael shot back. "We all ended up here for different reasons." William grew sullen, his mind drifting back to the life he once knew. Memories of his beautiful wife Tanya and precious baby daughter Sophia overwhelmed him with sadness. It all fell apart when Nathan Caldwell, William's wealthy former classmate, set his sights on Tanya. Despite William's desperate attempts to make his marriage work, the heart wants what the heart wants. Tanya left him for the richer, better-looking Nathan, taking little Sophia with her. William felt his world crumble. He loved his wife and daughter more than life itself. Devastated, he turned to drinking for comfort until he ended up on the streets over 3 years ago, homeless and filled with self-loathing. "Hey, man, you gonna eat that?" Michael's voice snapped William back to the present, nodding absently as he passed the other man the remaining food scraps. Michael returned hours later, a mischievous grin plastered on his bearded face. "Good news, buddy. I found this sweet purse full of cash and documents." William leaned over, his brow furrowing at the expensive-looking leather bag. "Where did you get that?" "Found it on a bench over on 4th Street. No name attached. So finders keepers." "Michael, you can't just take things that don't belong to you. What if someone is missing this?" "Newsflash, genius. This is the real world. I'm going to have a nice night for once with this windfall." William struggled to grab the purse. "At least let me look inside for something identifying the owner. We can return it." Michael smacked William's grabbing hands away, raising a fist menacingly. "Don't push me. Another word and I'll have to bust you up." William backed down, fear flashing in his eyes. As much as he disagreed with Michael's behavior, going toe-to-toe with an aggressive man twice his size never ended well. He lay awake late into the night, unable to shake the guilt over not returning the purse. William gathered his courage and headed to the restaurant early the next morning, the purse tucked under his tattered jacket. He knocked timidly on the back door. It swung open to reveal Veronica, her bouffant slightly askew. "Oh, it's you again." She eyed him warily. "What do you want, hun?" William extended the purse with a trembling hand. My friend found this yesterday. I thought you might be the owner." Veronica's eyes widened in relief as she snatched the handbag, immediately rifling through its contents. "Oh, thank heavens! This has all my cash for the weekly bank drop, not to mention so much important identification." She looked up at William, stunned. "Words can't express—" "No need. Just glad I could return it," William mumbled shyly. Veronica opened her wallet, peeling off a crisp 20. "Here, let me give you a little something for your honesty." William shook his head adamantly. "Oh, no, ma'am. Couldn't possibly accept money for just doing the right thing." Veronica's face softened into a warm smile. "Well, then at least let me buy you a hot meal inside. Least I could do." William hesitated before giving a small nod. He could already feel his cheeks burning from the kindness. William tried his best to mask his self-consciousness as Veronica led him to a cozy booth by the kitchen. He relaxed slightly as the scents of fresh coffee, bacon, and syrupy pancakes wafted by. "Order up anything you'd like, honey," Veronica said warmly. "In fact, start by telling me a little about yourself over some coffee while you decide." She signaled a young waitress who promptly brought over a steaming mug and cream pitcher. William cradled the mug greedily, breathing in the rich aroma before taking a cautious sip, eyes fluttering closed in delight. "Oh my, forgive me. I can't recall the last time I had a good cup of coffee." Veronica smiled and patted his weathered hand. "No need to apologize, hun. So what's your story? How'd a seemingly nice man like you end up on the streets?" With the floodgates opened, William spent the next hour unloading the tragic story of his failed marriage to Tanya, his heartbreak over her leaving him for his wealthy former classmate Nathan, and the loss of his precious baby daughter Sophia. When he finally finished, Veronica had tears shining in her eyes. "Oh, you poor dear. Nobody should have to go through that kind of loss and betrayal. I want to help you, William." His eyes widened in surprise. You'd do that for me? After I'm the one who's been accepting your kindness?" Veronica pursed her ruby lips and nodded firmly. "It's decided then. I'm closing up the restaurant for a few weeks to visit my sister in Tulsa. I'll put you up in that storage room out back, and you can earn your keep sprucing up the grounds while I'm gone. Sort of a groundskeeper/gardener." William was stunned into silence, his mouth hanging open. I don't know what to say. Thank you seems so inadequate." Veronica waved a dismissive hand. "Just do a good job and we'll call it even. Now eat up, you're going to need your strength." Over the next few weeks, William attacked the restaurant's landscaping with a renewed sense of vigor and purpose. He trimmed hedges, planted bright, colorful flowers, and laid fresh mulch and pine straw until the grounds were utterly transformed. The staff was amazed at William's hidden talents that emerged as he worked. What had once been a slightly run-down exterior was now a cheerful, inviting entrance with patios and pathways guiding guests inside. Simple wooden trellises adorned with vines framed the doorways. "Wow, William, I can't get over how great this looks," Emily gushed one afternoon, bringing him a glass of cold lemonade. "You'd never know this was the same place as a few weeks ago." William accepted the drink gratefully with a humble grin. "Just trying to earn my keep and make Miss Veronica proud. This place already meant so much to her." As the final days of Veronica's absence dwindled, William turned his sights to redecorating the interior in that same rustic, homey vibe. He sanded and restained the wooden tables and chairs, hung up vintage signage and artwork, and crafted simple centerpieces from wildflowers and burlap. The morning of Veronica's return, William straightened his newly donated clothes anxiously, pacing the newly refinished hardwood floors. He froze as a car door slammed outside. "William, you here, dear?" Veronica's booming voice echoed through the diner. She stopped short as she stepped inside, her mouth dropping open at the renovated space before her. Oh my!" William emerged from the kitchen, wringing his hands nervously. "Welcome back, Miss Veronica. I I hope you like what I've done with the place." Veronica was speechless as she took in every detail, from the gorgeous landscaping visible through the windows to the rustic chic decor surrounding them. She blinked back tears. "Like it, William, I'm blown away. This place looks absolutely incredible." She finally regained her voice enough to pull him into an exuberant hug. "How could I ever repay you for this?" William blushed furiously. "No payment required, ma'am. Just glad I could help out and repay your kindness to me." Veronica pulled back, pondering something. "You know, I have a friend who owns a company managing all sorts of venues and event spaces across town. Let me make a call and get you an audience with Andrew. Your talents are being wasted just on this little place." True to her word, Veronica had her friend Andrew over to the diner within a couple of hours to showcase William's miraculous work. Andrew was incredibly impressed, not just with the physical transformation, but William's vision and eye for design. He immediately hired the stunned William on as a landscaper and decorator for his company's properties. "This kind of skill and ingenuity is exactly what I need, William." Andrew clapped him on the back enthusiastically. "Consider yourself on the ground floor of bigger and better things." For the next few years, William thrived and poured his heart into every project, quickly becoming one of Andrew's most sought-after designers and landscapers. He went from destitute and homeless to owning his own successful company, Beautiful Beginnings Landscaping. With money finally coming in steadily, William was able to realistically consider tracking down his long-lost daughter Sophia. After some investigation, he discovered she and Tanya were still living back in his tiny hometown of Beardsley, Ohio. Nathan had abandoned them years ago when the fun of a young wife and baby wore off. Tanya had no choice but to rely on what little family she had left in the aging factory town. With a bouquet of daffodils clutched nervously in his hand, William found himself on Tanya's doorstep one crisp April morning. He steeled himself with a deep breath before ringing the bell. The door creaked open and Tanya's familiar face appeared, her beauty still shining through despite the wearied look of a struggling single mother. Her eyes grew wide in shock. William? Is that you?" Before he could respond, a young woman of about 20 appeared over Tanya's shoulder, brow furrowed in confusion. William felt his heart clench. It was his Sophia, all grown up. "Mom? Who is this?" Tanya blinked back tears, finally whispering in a trembling voice. It's your father, sweetheart." 2 years later, life had completely turned around for the reunited family. William helped Tanya through rehabilitation from injuries sustained in an accident, allowing her to once again become active in his landscaping company's design branch. Sophia was more hesitant at first, struggling to form a bond with the father she barely remembered from her earliest years. But William's patience, kindness, and stability eventually won her over. Under Veronica's guidance, Sophia began making plans to open her very own restaurant, utilizing the skills and business savvy she learned working alongside the legendary diner owner. William beamed with pride watching his daughter take charge of her dreams, just as he had taken charge of his life off the streets. His own personal journey had come full circle. As William surveyed the sunny garden patio at Chez Sophia's grand opening, he couldn't help but flash back to the dark, lonely nights spent huddled on park benches with Michael. Speaking of which, a familiar figure ambled up to the entrance, squinting in the bright sunlight. It was Michael, looking slightly worse for wear, but much healthier than the last time William saw him. "Well, I'll be, if it isn't my old buddy William!" Michael exclaimed with a toothy grin, pulling William into a bone-crushing hug. "Should have known you'd make something of yourself eventually." William chuckled, patting Michael's back fondly. "What are you up to these days, old friend?" "Well, after you made it so big, I finally realized I had to get my act together too. Been sober for a year now, working as a groundskeeper/landscaper at a place very near and dear to both our hearts." William's jaw dropped. "No, you're not talking about—" Michael nodded with a wink. "That's right, old Chez Cuisine. Veronica hired me on about 6 months ago. Even got a new girl keeping me on the straight and narrow these days." He whistled and waved over a pretty young blonde who had just clocked out, giving William a sheepish smile and wave as she took Michael's hand. For the first time in his life, William felt everything had truly come full circle. He was reunited with his family, owned a successful business, and was surrounded by people who saw the value in him even at his lowest point. From rags to riches indeed. As Sophia called everyone inside for the start of the grand opening celebrations, William lingered a moment longer. He looked up with a content smile, saying a silent, "Thank you," to whatever higher power gifted him this unbelievable second chance.